Hello everyone. Let's start with bryophytes today. So now what do we have to imagine when we say bryophytes, right? Yes. So many of you must have seen such greenish growth on the rocks, on the compound walls, right? On trees, right? So these plants which are growing like a mat on the substratum, right? Yes. Then most probably it will be a bryophyte. It will be a moss. Okay. So in these photos you can see some of the common bryophytes. Okay, and common thing which you can see is they grow like a mat. Okay, now when we studied about the classification of all the plants in various groups, we mentioned that bryophytes, they have little differentiated plant body, but they do not have vascular tissues, they do not have xylem and phloem, and as they don't have any conducting tissue, obviously you will not have some big trees which grow vertically, right? Yes, here you will have mat like flattened growth. So whatever the surface is, right, on that substratum, the bryophytes, that is mainly mosses and liverworts, will grow like parallel to it, right? Yes, just like a mat flattened growth. So bryophytes include various mosses and liverworts, such species. Next, these are found mainly in moist, shaded areas in the hills. Okay, they prefer to grow in like damp, humid conditions. Okay, they will not easily grow in like some dry, sunny environment, but they will grow in shaded localities. They will grow in damp, moist regions. They are called amphibians of the plant kingdom. Now, you must be remembering at least a little bit that amphibians, like frog, okay, in animal kingdom, right? Now, frog lives both on land as well as in water, and from that we have basically used it here. Okay, if you see bryophytes, they grow mainly on the soil, right? They grow on moist soil, but they are dependent on water for sexual reproduction. Basically water is required for the transportation of the male gametes, right? Water is required for completion of the sexual reproduction. If male gametes do not reach the female gamete, then fertilization will not occur, zygote will not form, and the next generation in the plant cycle will not be produced. Right? Plant life cycle में जो next generation form होना चाहिए वही नहीं बनेगा, and obviously then how the life cycle will be completed. So to complete the sexual life cycle, bryophytes need water. So that means see they are growing on soil, but they need water. They are dependent on water for completing their sexual life cycle. As they are dependent on both soil as well as water, they are often regarded as amphibians of the plant kingdom. Also, these bryophytes, okay, mosses and all, they play great role in plant succession on bare rocks or soil. So basically, एक succession नाम का process होता है, which you will mainly study in the 12th class ecosystem chapter. अभी के लिए बस इतना याद रखो. Let's say if you have some bare rocks, okay, big rocks. So eventually, in the process of weathering, these rocks will be converted into soil. ओके और रॉक्स पे जहां पे पहले कोई प्लांट्स ग्रो नहीं हो रहे थे, कोई वेजिटेशन नहीं था, वहां पे अल्टीमेटली एक बहुत ही डाइवर्स हैबिटेट क्रिएट होता है, फॉरेस्ट क्रिएट होता है. सो ये जो पूरा प्रोसेस है इसको बोलते हैं सक्सेशन. ओके, प्लांट सक्सेशन, वेर इन अल्टीमेटली साइमल्टेनियसली as a barren area is converted into forest, the rocks are slowly broken. They are broken down into many pieces and ultimately you will have the soil. So ये weathering process भी इसके साथ parallel ही होगा. So in the succession process, okay, to start the succession process, you need two main things. That is, you need lichens, right, which are the symbiotic association between algae and fungi, right? We discussed it in the previous video lectures, right? Lichen is the symbiotic association between algae and fungi. So these lichens are super important, and along with lichens, you need mosses. Okay, ऐसे जो mosses है, they also grow on these rocks and actually start basically they initiate the succession process, and ultimately, after like thousands and like millions of years, you will have forest ecosystem form. So to start the process, you need lichens and mosses. So obviously we can say that bryophytes, which include these mosses, are ecologically very important because they have important role to play in the plant succession on bare rocks, right? Now, before actually reading the entire thing which is given in your NCRT, first let's understand how the life cycle of bryophytes proceed. Okay, so first important point which you should remember is in bryophytes. Okay, all bryophytes, it may be any moss, it may be liverwort, and there is also another small group in bryophytes called hornworts, okay, which is clearly not mentioned in your NCERT textbook, but definitely there is a small group with like very few number of species, and the main two large groups will be liverworts and mosses. Okay, whatever may be the group, any bryophyte, the main plant body will be gametophyte. ओके, इट इज थैलॉइड बॉडी. ठीक है, मेनली ये कैसे होते हैं, थैलॉइड, मतलब जैसे हमने मैट ग्रोथ देखा है, राइट, वैसे ही वो रॉक्स पे, सबस्ट्रेटम पे, सॉइल पे से ग्रो होता है. ठीक है, सो मेन प्लांट बॉडी, हमेशा मेन प्लांट बॉडी इंडिपेंडेंट ही होनी चाहिए, राइट, अदरवाइज हाउ वी कैन कॉल इट द मेन प्लांट बॉडी, राइट. जो मेन प्लांट बॉडी है वो कैसे होनी चाहिए, इंडिपेंडेंट. दैट मीन्स दिस गैमेटोफाइट इज फोटोसिंथेटिक, राइट. गैमेटोफाइट कैसे है, photosynthetic है, it can prepare its own food and it can take care of itself, right? Yes, so gametophyte is the main plant body of bryophytes. ठीक है, once it's ready, mature, this gametophyte, when it's well grown, then in suitable condition it will bear the sex organs. The male sex organ is called antheridium and the female sex organ is called archegonium. Antheridium is the male sex organ and archegonium is female sex organs. Obviously, respective gametes are produced here. In antheridium, the male gametes called anthrozoids, many anthrozoids are produced. These anthrozoids are biflagellated. Okay, they have two flagella, and with the help of those flagella, these male gametes, that is anthrozoids, will swim through the water medium and reach the female sex organ, which is archegonium, inside which a single egg cell will be present, right? So many anthrozoids are produced, but the female sex organ will have only one egg cell. Okay, so out of all the like many anthrozoids, at least few will manage to reach the female sex organ, and one will fertilize the egg cell. So the egg cell, that is a female gamete, and then the anthrozoid, that is the male gamete, both haploid gametes will fuse to form zygote. As you can see here clearly, zygote is being formed and the process will be called fertilization, or you can also call it syngamy. क्या बोल सकते हैं हम, syngamy. Okay, so gametophyte is haploid, it bears the sex organs antheridium and archegonium, it produces the respective gametes, gametes are brought together, they are fused, so fertilization occurs and you have a diploid zygote, right. Next, zygote as usual general life cycle में क्या पढ़ा है हमने, zygote से क्या बनना चाहिए, sporophyte. So zygote gives rise to sporophyte, again diploid है, typically it has three parts, foot, seta and capsule. Three parts कौन से है, foot, seta and capsule. Okay, foot is like the base of the sporophyte through which it attaches on the gametophyte. Next, you have seta, a stalk-like structure, and then you have a capsule, like a sac-like structure inside which spores will be produced. Okay, so as you can see, inside the capsule of sporophyte, meiosis occurs, and by the meiotic cell division, obviously chromosome number will be reduced to half. Meiosis is reductional division. So the diploid sporophytic cells in the capsule, the specific cells, you can call them spore mother cells, right? They will undergo meiosis to produce the haploid spores. Later on, wherever you will have like the moisture, right, moist condition, shaded locality, these spores will germinate to form the main plant body, which is gametophyte. This is how the entire life cycle proceeds. Now, here there is one very important point to note, like a unique character of bryophytes. यहाँ पे जो sporophyte बनता है, diploid sporophyte with typically foot, seta and capsule, right? This sporophyte either it does not have any photosynthetic tissue or it has very little photosynthetic tissue, very, very little, such that it cannot take care of itself. It cannot survive independently. Okay, स्पोरोफाइट में फोटोसिंथेटिक टिश्यू एक तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है या फिर बहुत ही थोड़ा टिश्यू है और जिसके वजह से ये इंडिपेंडेंटली सर्वाइव नहीं कर सकता है एंड दैट इज व्हाई दिस स्पोरोफाइट इज dependent. It is actually parasitic or at least partial parasitic, that is semi parasitic on gametophyte. तो वही यहाँ पे हमने मेंशन किया, आप देख सकते हो स्पोरोफाइट जो है फुक्सिटा कैप्सूल, राइट, इट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन gametophyte, right? Gametophyte is the main plant body, it is photosynthetic, it can survive independently, but जो sporophyte है it is dependent on gametophyte. So अगर आप इस पूरे लाइफ साइकिल को देखोगे तो फर्टिलाइजेशन के बाद जब जाइगोट बनता है उसी के बाद स्पोरोफाइट रहेगा, विच इज अगेन ग्रोइंग ऑन द गैमेटोफाइट, राइट? गैमेटोफाइट तो वैसे भी इंडिपेंडेंटली सर्वाइव कर सकता है और जब स्पोरोफाइट ग्रो हो रहा है दैट टाइम आल्सो यू विल हैव द गैमेटोफाइट स्टिल सर्वाइविंग, right? Yes, because it has to, the gametophyte has to give nourishment to the sporophyte. So main plant body जो है gametophyte, right, and mainly the haploid structure ये dominant है, but sporophyte एकदम negligible नहीं है. Algae में हमने क्या देखा था, जो जाइगोट बनता है इसमें directly meiosis and you get the spores, but यहाँ पे जाइगोट में meiosis नहीं हो रहा है, यहाँ पे जाइगोट से स्पोरोफाइट बन रहा है. स्पोरोफाइट डेवलप होगा, इट विल हैव फुक्सिटा कैप्सूल, कैप्सूल में मेयोसिस होगा एंड देन यू हैव स्पोर्स. सो दो द मेन प्लांट बॉडी इज डेफिनेटली द हैप्लॉइड गैमेटोफाइट, बट स्पोरोफाइट इज आल्सो फॉर अ सिग्निफिकेंट ड्यूरेशन. डिप्लॉयड फेज एकदम नेग्लिजिबल नहीं है, वो भी एक सिग्निफिकेंट ड्यूरेशन के लिए in the entire life cycle, and that is why we say that the life cycle pattern of bryophytes is हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक. क्या बोलेंगे हम इसको? हैप्लोडिप्लॉन्टिक. ओके, इन केस ऑफ एल्गे we said it is, in case of algae we said it is haplontic, right? Majority algae, okay, not all algae, there are some exceptions which we will discuss at the end of the chapter. For most of the algae it's haplontic, right? But for all bryophytes, it is haplodiplontic. Okay, this is the life cycle pattern because both phases are like for significant duration. Gametophyte is definitely dominating one, but sporophyte is not like negligible as it was in algae, right? The diploid sporophyte was negligible in case of algae, so we called it haplontic life cycle. But here it is still quite significant. So haplodiplontic life cycle. क्या बोलेंगे ब्रायोफाइट्स में? Haplodiplontic life cycle. So this same life cycle actually has been explained here. Let's go through the important points quickly. So the plant body of bryophytes is obviously more differentiated than algae, right? Yes. यहाँ पे कोई true root stem leaf तो नहीं है, but it do have the root like, stem like and leaf like structure. Okay, root like, leaf like, stem like structures are definitely present. The root like structures are rhizoids which can be unicellular or multicellular, like in case of liverworts you mainly have unicellular, and in case of mosses you have multicellular branched rhizoids, right? जो मेन प्लांट बॉडी है गैमेटोफाइट, राइट, इट इज थैलॉइड. ओके, फ्लैटन स्ट्रक्चर, ग्रोस लाइक अ मैट ग्रोथ, राइट, थैलॉइड स्ट्रक्चर है एंड इट इज प्रोस्ट्रेट और इरेक्ट. प्रोस्ट्रेट मतलब जैसे मैट लाइक ग्रोथ होता है, जस्ट फ्लैट ग्रोथ ऑन द substratum, whatever it is, stone, soil, any compound wall, right? Any substratum उस पे अगर एकदम flattened growth है तो prostrate है, और erect भी हो सकता है like in some of the leafy members. Next, the main plant body. ओके, मेन प्लांट बॉडी क्या है? जैसे हमने पहले देखा लाइफ साइकिल जो हमने ड्रॉ किया था उसमें हमने क्या देखा है? मेन प्लांट बॉडी इज द हैप्लॉइड गैमेटोफाइट, राइट? इट विल प्रोड्यूस द सेक्स ऑर्गन्स which are multicellular. Okay, ब्रायोफाइट्स में सेक्स ऑर्गन्स कैसे होते हैं? मल्टीसेल्युलर. ठीक है, ऑल्सो दे आर कवर्ड बाय a layer of like sterile cells, so we call it jacketed. Okay, multicellular and जैकेटेड। आप पहले इतना याद रखो, ये इंपॉर्टेंट है। सेक्स ऑर्गन्स इन ब्रायोफाइट्स आर मल्टीसेल्युलर, दे आर कॉल्ड एंथेरिडियम and archegonium, right? Antheridium is the male sex organ and archegonium is the female sex organ. This archegonium is flask shape. शेप कैसे होता है? फ्लास्क शेप होता है, ठीक है, जिसके अंदर एग सेल होगा। आर्चिगोनियम के अंदर एक सिंगल एग होगा एंड एंथेरिडियम जो है इट प्रोड्यूसेस मेनी बाइफ्लैजेलेट एंथेरोजोइड्स, दैट इज द मेल गैमेट्स. Enterozoids are released in water, then they will swim through water with the help of flagella. They will reach the female sex organ, which is archegonium. Then obviously fusion will occur to form zygote. Here, see, zygote do not undergo reduction division immediately. Algae में पिछले ग्रुप में क्या पढ़ा था? In algae, most algae, zygotic meiosis occurs. लेकिन यहाँ पे zygotic meiosis नहीं होता है. यहाँ पे जाइगोट से स्पोरोफाइट बनता है, कूटसिटा कैप्सूल, राइट, और फिर स्पोरोफाइट में जो कैप्सूल है उसमें मियोसिस होता है. सो जाइगोट इमीडिएटली इसमें कोई मियोसिस नहीं होगा, मतलब रिडक्शनल डिवीजन नहीं होगा. सो जाइगोट्स do not undergo reduction division immediately. These zygotes produce a multicellular body called sporophyte. It is not free living. See, it is not free living means it is dependent, right? So it is attached to the main plant body, which is photosynthetic gametophyte, right, and derives nourishment from it. Some cells of the sporophyte, basically they are present in the capsule. They will undergo meiosis to produce the haploid spores, and again the spores germinate to form the gametophyte. Thus the life cycle is completed. So this was all about the life cycle in bryophytes. Ultimately, haplodiplontic life cycle pattern is observed here, right? Last, we will see in general what is the importance of ब्रायोफाइट्स. ओके, सो ब्रायोफाइट को अगर देखें तो बाकी प्लांट ग्रुप्स के कंपैरिजन में हम इतना ज्यादा इसको कमर्शियली या इकोनॉमिकली एक्सप्लॉइट नहीं करते हैं, ओके, यूज नहीं करते हैं. लेकिन ब्रायोफाइट्स का नेचर में, इकोसिस्टम में बहुत ही मेजर रोल होता है. ओके, सो कैसे लिखा है देखो यहाँ पे, इन जनरल ब्रायोफाइट्स, ओके, दे आर ऑफ लिटिल इकोनॉमिक इंपॉर्टेंस, और आगे लिखा है दे आर ऑफ ग्रेट इकोलॉजिकल इंपॉर्टेंस. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू नोट दिस, राइट. थोड़ा इधर उधर किया तो एक बहुत ही ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन बन सकता है, राइट. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट इज द इंपॉर्टेंस. Mosses, which are bryophytes, right, they provide food for herbaceous mammals, birds and other animals. So they will basically be like the starting point of the food chains, right. Yes, they will be like food for various animals. So ये ecological importance है, ठीक है. नेक्स्ट आपको एक इकोनॉमिक इंपॉर्टेंस दिया है, मतलब जो हम कमर्शियल यूज करते हैं. देयर इज अ स्पीशीज ऑफ मॉस कॉल्ड स्पैग्नम. ओके, इट प्रोवाइड्स पिट. सो बेसिकली मिलियंस ऑफ इयर्स बैक जो भी स्पैग्नम स्पीशीज प्लांट्स थे, those mosses basically those were not completely decomposed, but it got carbonized and fossilized, and that is what we obtain as a material called pit. ओके, ये हम एक्सट्रैक्ट करते हैं फ्रॉम एसिडिक बॉग्स. ओके, सो ये जो पिट है इट कैन बी यूज्ड एज फ्यूल लाइक अदर फॉसिल फ्यूल्स व्हिच वी ऑब्टेन. सो दिस पिट कैन बी यूज्ड एज फ्यूल. Plus, it can be added to the soil and it can be used as a manure. It also improves aeration, okay, and improves the fertility of the soil because it can be used as a manure. So it can be also used as a packing material for a transshipment of living material. If you have to transport any living material over a very long distance, then there is obviously a chance that that living material may dry out by the time it reaches its destination, right? So what we can do is surrounding the actual living material, we can use this pit, okay, as a packing material. Pit has very high water holding capacity. ओके, इट हैज ग्रेट वाटर होल्डिंग कैपेसिटी. तो ये मॉइस्चर को पूरा एब्जॉर्ब करके रखता है, और जो भी लिविंग मटेरियल आप ट्रांसपोर्ट कर रहे हो बहुत दूर, राइट, तो पिट इर्द गिर्द होने के वजह से क्या होता है, पिट सराउंडिंग होने की वजह से वाटर और मॉइस्चर पूरे से होल्ड किया गया है, एंड द लिविंग मटेरियल विल नॉट गेट ड्राइड आउट. ओके, इट विल रिमेन फ्रेश. ये हो गया हमारा इकोनॉमिक इंपॉर्टेंस बिकॉज वी आर यूजिंग इट कमर्शियल, राइट. ये जो है ना यूजिंग एज अ पैकेजिंग मटेरियल, ये हो गया इसका इकोनॉमिक इंपॉर्टेंस, ठीक है. अब आगे जो भी दिया है ये इसके इकोलॉजिकल इंपॉर्टेंस है वापस, ठीक है. सो मॉसेस along with lichens are the first ऑर्गेनिजम्स टू कॉलोनाइज रॉक, ये आपको बताया था। प्लांट सक्सेशन प्रोसेस में, राइट, रॉक से अल्टीमेटली सॉइल बनता है और वहां पे जो फॉरेस्ट बन जाता है अल्टीमेटली ओवर मेनी ईयर्स, ऑब्वियसली थाउजेंड्स ऑफ ईयर्स। तो इस पूरे प्रोसेस में जो सबसे पहले, मतलब जो पायोनियर स्पीशीज है, राइट, lichens and then immediately of mosses. So mosses actually start this succession process on the barren rocks. So that is why they are of great ecological importance. See, they decompose the rocks, they break the rocks, making the substrate suitable for the growth of higher plants. See, higher plants cannot like directly grow on big rocks, like flowering plants and all. Their roots cannot directly penetrate the big rocks. So these mosses, lichens, they basically, start decomposing the rock. So then the higher plants can easily grow. Ultimately फिर अलग अलग प्रकार के प्लांट्स ग्रो होते हैं और फॉरेस्ट बनता है, ठीक है। सो पायोनियर कौन है, फाउंडर स्पीशीज कौन है, सबसे पहले कौन होने चाहिए, लाइकन्स एंड मॉसेस। So that is why they are of great ecological importance, right? Then, since mosses, they form dense mat on the soil. They grow, like ऐसे पूरा horizontally grow होते हैं like a mat. They reduce the impact of falling rain and super important, they prevent soil erosion, right? Bryophytes are divided into like two main groups, liverworts and mosses. There is also a third group called hornworts. But for NEET exam, mainly we have to study these three groups, that is liverworts and mosses. Okay. So in the next video lecture, we will discuss about liverworts and mosses, their life cycle patterns, then some important examples. Okay. So I hope this was helpful for you. Thank you.